Hello everyone, my name is Suraj Sharma and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's all about economics. In today's lecture, we'll be dealing with a topic that is statistics, methods of data collection, and this particularly belongs to a paper that is called statistical methods, and it is widely used in bachelor's programs all over the world. And for more details, you can email me or you can text me. So what are the objectives of this class is actually we are going to see what are the importance of statistics. Then we'll be moving ahead with basic terminologies like observations, population and sample in statistics. Then we would be talking about what actually variables are and types of variables. Then ultimately will lead to methods of data collection. Now, what actually is a statistics? It is all around us. Whether you ask it will rain tomorrow or not, or who is the highest average scoring player in cricket, you'd be needing statistics to analyze and to come to a conclusion. If you sit on TV and go to weather channel to know whether it will rain tomorrow or not, that weather channel is actually using statistics to come to a conclusion whether there are chances of rain tomorrow or not. Uh, mm, in India, as we know that cricket is very famous game, we would be wanting to know who is the highest average scoring player in cricket, and for that too we need data, and we need a tool that is a statistics to come to a conclusion. In a country where the population or the labor force is having a MBA degree there. Mm, Particularly, people would be wanting to know about whether what is the average salary of MBA graduates in India. From these to more complex situations like whether a particular trade policy intervention will result in favorable BOP situation or not, whether a new fertilizers used in agriculture is resulting in increased crop yielding or not, what are the chances of survival of a newborn in a particular geographical area, or what are the determinants of consumer satisfaction level, where there exists a gender or caste wage differentials in India or not, or whether government expenditure crowds out private investment or not. For all these things, we actually need statistics to come to a conclusions for a particular research problem. So what actually we need to do, we need to collect data, and statistics is all about that. Statistics is a collection of methods, and these methods are actually used in describing, summarizing, interpreting, and analyzing data to come to a definite conclusion. So we collect the data in a manner which allows us to analyze these data and to come to a conclusion. Now, what about this data set? A data set is a collection of related sets of information. If you want to collect information on whether it will rain tomorrow or not, then we'll be needing a data set that relates to this particular problem, and we'll analyze and draw a conclusion about that. Now, what is observation, population, and sample? What is the basic difference between these three basic terminologies of statistics? The first one is observation. The units on which data is measured are called observations. If you are going for socioeconomic condition of persons, then your unit of observation would be a person. If you are asking it on the household basis, then your unit of observation may be household. If you're going for animal census, then your unit of observation would be animals, countries, and so on. Now, what does it mean by population in statistics? Population is a set of all units or all elements from a specified group, and the measurable characteristics of a population is called parameter. For example, you can calculate mean, standard deviation of your variable of interest. uh, what does it mean by a sample? A sample is a subset of population which is actually used in the study, and it consists one or more observations drawn from population, and measurable characteristics of sample is called statistics. So this is a basic difference between parameter and statistic. While sample is the measurable characteristics of sample is called statistics, the measurable characteristics of population are called parameters. We'll have an example by which you would be very easily you'll get to know that what is the basic difference between these three. So if we are considering the socio-economic conditions of Indian households, then here the unit of observation is household, and population consists all households from India. If we want to go for socio-economic condition of all Indian households, now here we have two different methods. First one, if is called census, and it is done. It may be done, which is a complete enumeration of all households from India. If you can go for all households, then it is called census, and the characteristics would be called descriptive statistics in case of census, because we are having information on a particular variable completely. But while if census is not possible because of time, economic and other constraints, sample study is used, which is also called inferential statistics. Why it is called inferential statistics is only because we make inferences about populations based on a sample, and for precise inferential statistics, we our sample should be representative of this population, and this representation, the methods of choosing a representative sample, we'll get to know it in future videos. How we actually take an unbiased sample from population. Now what actually variables are, and if we will consider a research question and we specify the population, then it is followed by determining units of observation, and what actually these variables, particular features of observations are collected in variables. Now, for example, if we were considering socio-economic conditions of households, then variables of interest may be such as type of household, housing facilities, then sex of the household, and then household size, etc. So it varies over cross sections or time periods or panels. Like variable sex may have particular values which refers to either male, female or transgender, or we can assign numeric values to these. Let an example be like we have a variable x that is for type of family, then type of family may be nuclear or joint, and we can assign numeric to this. We can assign 1 to nuclear and 2 to joint family, and by that we actually assign numbers to variables. Now variables can be broadly classified into quantitative and qualitative variables. Now we'll get to know what actually qualitative and quantitative variables are. First of all, if you see the qualitative variables cannot be ordered in a logical or natural way. For example, if you see sex, type of family, mode of transportation, here if you actually assign numbers to sex like male and female, then it doesn't mean that if you assign 1 for male and 2 for female, it doesn't mean that females are twice wiser than male. So it cannot be ordered in a natural or logical way. Qualitative data can be assigned numeric, like I have shown you earlier for analysis, but the numbers do not have logical or natural qualities. As far as quantitative numbers variables are concerned, here the measurable quantities of quantitative variables can be ordered in a logical or natural way, and here the numbers would be having inherent qualities of numbers. For example, price of a commodity, weight and height of a person. We can differentiate between two different heights of persons, and likewise GDP of countries, etc. Further, coming to what discrete and continuous variables are. The discrete variables can only take finite number of values, or sometimes called countable variables. For example, qualitative variables, you can count them. Size of shoes, you can count them. As far as continuous variables are concerned, they can take an infinite number of values. For example, age. The age of a person can be 15 years, uh, 6 month, uh, then it can go on to hours, minutes, seconds and nanoseconds. Likewise, length, height of a person. So it depends upon the precision of measuring of a particular variable. And you can go on in case of continuous variables. However, it can be turned into discrete, like if we can calculate age in years. So we'll not say that the age is of a person is 15 years, 6 months and so on. We'll say that age is 15 years. So this can actually be turned into discrete variables. Next is the scales, and these scales are very important as far as you want to use softwares or statistical softwares to actually analyze your data. And useful classification of variables containing different information. It is very important. It is also very important to identify appropriate tools or methods to be employed. If as far as you don't know which scale your variable is, you cannot apply appropriate statistical method. So first of all, we'll get to know about nominal scale. What does it mean? Here the values of a variable cannot be ordered. Like I have already mentioned, gender or sex. If you see that you can assign numbers 1 to male, 2 to female, but it cannot be ordered. It doesn't mean that one will come before two. Likewise, type of family, medium of transport. The second is ordinal scale. Here the values can be ordered, but differences between the values cannot be interpreted meaningfully. Likewise, level of education. You can order level of education as illiterate, primary, secondary, higher education, but the difference between illiterate and primary educated person, and the difference between primary and secondary level of education cannot be interpreted meaningfully. So these are called ordinal variables. Now the third one is continuous variable, which is a combination of nominal and ordinal, and here you can order the values as well as you can see the meaningful differences between the different values. Like height of a person, you can order height of different persons, as well as you can interpret the meaningful differences between 6 feet 5 inches and 6 feet height of two persons. Likewise, weight of a newborn, and etc. Now coming to interval scale. Here in interval scale, only differences can be interpreted, but not ratios, and it doesn't have a true zero. What does it mean by doesn't have a true zero? Mean you can simply get it by an example of temperature. If you see that uh, 0 degree Celsius doesn't mean that there is no temperature. It is a degree of temperature. And if you want to see the difference between -2 degree centigrade and 4 degree centigrade, then there is a difference of scale of 6 degree. But the ratio of -2 and 4 doesn't mean that minus 4 degrees centigrade is twice as cold as 2 degrees centigrade. So here we can actually interpret the difference but not ratio. And ultimately ratio scale, because ratio scale is the scale where we actually can make differences and ratios both are can be interpreted. And here the zero means zero. It means zero would be having a true value like height and weight. These are called ratio scales. Now methods of data collection. We have three different types of data collection methods. First of all, we'll start with survey method. And in survey method, we actually get information by asking questions using survey schedules, or we can provide questionnaires. In survey schedules, we can have a face-to-face or physically we can appear for asking questions, or we can have a telephonic or online survey, or in questionnaires we actually provide electronic or print to the participants to be filled up. For example, in an opinion poll of elections, we actually use survey. And if we want to do a socio-economic condition research, we would be going for survey and method of data collection. The questions may be open-ended or close-ended. What does it mean by open and close-ended questions? In open-ended questions, the participant is not restricted to a certain outcomes of answers, but in close-ended, he or she is. So in open-ended questions, the feelings or the opinions can be captured. But in close-ended questions, there are definite outcomes of a particular question, and a participant has to choose within those particular outcomes. As far as structured and unstructured schedule is concerned, structured schedules and unstructured schedules are basically structure and schedule is a type of schedule in which the interviewer asks a particular set of predetermined questions, while in unstructured interviewer schedule, which the interviewer asks questions that are not prepared in advance. So these are called unstructured schedules. Now, if a survey is considering all observations of population, then it would be called census survey. And if it is a representative of population, then it is called sample survey. That has already been mentioned. There are two types of surveys also: cross-sectional survey or longitudinal survey. Cross-sectional survey means the information collected at a particular point of time, at a given point of time. But in longitudinal survey, it involves repeated observations of the same variables over short or long periods of time. For example, you can calculate socio-economic condition data in 2004-5, and with the same participants you are collecting it in 2019, so it would be called a longitudinal survey when we combine these two data sets. Now, the second most important method of data collection is called experimental method of data collection, and it is most widely used in pure science streams. It is a controlled study to capture the cause and effect relationship between variables. Here, the experimenter actually create groups or form groups, and only he or she decides what controls are actually to be imposed on. And here the basic difference between experimental group and control group is the group that receives the treatment in an experiment is called experimental group, while the group who is not receiving the treatment is called control group. For example, if you want to see the effect of new vaccine in controlling viral infection, you can make two groups. The experimenter will make two groups and will use a particular vaccine on experimental group, while that vaccine is not used in control group, and the other things are controlled. And we'll see whether the new vaccine is effective in combating viral infection or not. As like you can have an example like use of new process in production units is increasing production or not. The third and the most widely used methods of data collection is observation method. It's a systematic way to collect data by observing people in natural situations or setting. What does it mean by natural situations or settings? Is the observer do not want to have a bias information. So he or she doesn't want to actually create a mess in the natural settings. What is actually happening or what has happened, the researcher should observe it in a natural setting only. It can be divided into participant and non-participant observation. In participant observation, the researcher participate in research activity and observe and collect data. But in non-participant observation, the researcher do not participate in research activity and just see from just observe the things from behind. It can be a simple or behavioral observation. It can be a covered or overt observation. Covert observation means here the observation secretly observe the phenomena, so that the data collected by observation is not biased. It is most widely used in behavioral studies, for socio-economic studies, for cultural and ethnographic studies. And last but not the least, we can actually divide data into two parts. One is primary and the second is secondary. Primary data is also called first-hand data. It means it is collected by ourselves only, but collection of primary data is very time consuming, sometimes expensive, and we get information in a raw form from primary data. As far as secondary data is concerned, it is collected by someone else, or you can differentiate, as this actually already in existence. For example, national census are there, public surveys are there. All published data and work comes in secondary data, publicly available database, and among others. Thank you so much for being with me. In next class, we would be particularly focusing on visualization of data. Thank you so much.